Hey YouTube, today we're going to be taking a look at the cheapest Telecaster I could find on the internet. This sucker was less than $100 new off of eBay. I believe I paid like $80. So how cheap is cheap, truly? We are looking at this Glarry cheapest Telecaster you can get. Is it even going to be playable? Can I make music on it at all? Stay tuned to find out. Oh, golly. I mean, I shouldn't start off on distortion, but still, there's this horrible cracking. Ooh, terrible. Okay. Not great first impressions here. Alright, let's put it down on a... Oh, okay. Not the greatest first impressions here. Now, I didn't just buy this guitar. I've had it for maybe a couple months, but I had just gotten I got this idea as I was, I just really love the Telecasters. I've got everything up to like really fantastic ASAT, vintage ASATs. But getting like bad, like how low can you go before you get just truly a junk instrument? And I think we might have an answer. This is, it feels not light and well balanced, but light like it's made out of balsa wood or something. Like it feels, there's this, looking at the aesthetics, it looks like it's crying ashes down the center. It's got this really unsightly, just gray, like and they didn't continue the sunburst onto the back. I mean, it's clearly, just the maple looks very, again, it feels like they made a guitar out of balsa wood. Look how poorly I mean, it's getting washed out a little bit in the lighting, but the grain going from it's not even close. Like and look at these knots in the back that look like smudges. They look like, somebody finished changing their oil and then picked this up and left like, but it's not, it's knots in there. I mean, just everything about this exudes cheapness. The nut is not cut right. There's a gap. There's a little dark bit right here. I mean, is it put together and is it a guitar? It is. Did it make sound when I plugged it in? It did. But is it actually a truly playable guitar? And that means a guitar that you can pick up and like make decent sounding music. I'm still very skeptical at this point. Very skeptical. This thing is, when I'm talking about junk, this is one of those where you see ads for Glarry. It is a brand. It is a name of sorts. I mean, I think glare, I think like, I can't see. It's a lens flare, Glarry. And I'd seen ads for these and I was not interested, but when I had the thought, what's the cheapest Telecaster I can find on the internet, this answered the call, and cheap it is. I mean, okay, obviously a less than $100 guitar, what are we expecting out of it? Here's the problem. I mean, I'm struggling to get it in tune. I'm struggling to get it in tune because the nut is very poorly cut, and you could see I'm going to fast forward it. in the final cut, but I'd sit there and work it back and forth, and tensioning in the, it wouldn't change. It wouldn't change the pitch at all. And so, you know, if you were a beginner and you're like, hey, I want to learn to play guitar, and you break this out on Christmas morning, it's going to be so frustrating because you can't even get the basic notes to sound right. It just, even, it's kind of in tune, but it just, this is on the neck position, okay, and this should be a lot brighter. I've got the tone up, and it's just, it sounds like I have the tone rolled all the way down, and I have it all the way up, and the volume is all the way up. I'm getting very, I mean, it's very, the sound is crackly and thin, weak. There's no brightness to it. I may put it, this is the middle position, so this is both of them. Like, we're getting a little better output, but it sounds just weak sauce. And then now I'm in the bridge position, and which should be, again, the tone is all the way up. This should be really poppy and twangy, like so much so that I probably should roll the tone back a little to get a good. Even not hitting it too hard, I'm getting a tremendous amount of string buzz. The action down here is extremely high, and looks like, and this is just eyeballing it, looks like the truss rod is going to need adjustment, because I mean, I can eyeball it and see that it has way too much relief, so it's got a lot of bow, up bow. I mean, to get this thing into even basically playable condition is going to take a full service setup, and that is not just replacing the strings and doing intonation, but leveling the frets, doing the truss rod, setting the height, doing, I mean, just a full workup. These tuners are, they just feel cheap. They're not aligned right. They're kind of wiggity-waggity angles going off. I mean, this thing was, it's there. It's a complete thing, but that's, I mean, other than it can make sounds, and it is a guitar, and if you're just looking to hang something on your wall, it could be a decoration perhaps, but I would not put this in anyone's hands, honestly. A good musician is not going to make this sound good. At best, you might get some, I mean, I can't think of a single scenario where this is going to do good, considering the shape. It's hard to play, it doesn't feel good in the hand, it looks mismatched, you know, it's like a patchwork hobo quilt or something. I mean, it's just, again, I am a fan of lower cost instruments. I have nothing against lower cost instruments. In fact, I'm attracted to them because I'm particularly interested when you can get one that is actually a good guitar. You know, go and contrast this with the Squier debut that I just got, and it was actually talking about that guitar that made me think about breaking this one out and doing this video, because that one doesn't come with a gig bag. Oh, let me tell you about the gig bag here. This is what led me to remember this guitar, was this ridiculous, they call this a gig bag. I mean, it's barely a dust bag. This was what I was thinking of when I was saying them repurposing windbreakers, because it's just, I mean, there's absolutely nothing to it. There's nothing to it at all. And You can see what I label my guitar bags so I don't have to open each one. And I made this one the cheapest TL because this is the cheapest Telecaster that I could find, and highlights what it has a name on it, but it is solid smoking junk. It is nothing but, you know, this and that and just and that and just it's just cringe, over and over as you're going through this guitar. Oh, those aren't set at the same height. Oh, that's at a funny angle, and oh, that just feels cheap, and oh, did that just crackle? This is that kind of guitar that you can't pick it up and be impressed with anything other than it is a guitar. Somehow, by some, you know, I don't know, whatever ridiculous processes, factory processes that they use to get you this thing for less than $100, but it is not a playable instrument. And that's the huge contrast with the Squier Debut. That is actually a playable instrument that I think with just a little bit of work I could actually make stage worthy and could take places and play and make good stuff. On all of my guitar reviews I do background music on the guitar that I'm playing. I'm not going to for this one because it would take tremendous hours of my time to set this up properly to even be playable, and the pickups are junk. They're crackly. They sound somehow both tinny and foggy. Right? They're like boom, 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 muted. The tone, it's just a whole ball of terrible. And you know, so I can't say enough bad about this guitar. And I have a tendency to love guitars. You know, I have a critical eye for various issues, but even with those issues, like that G&L Tribute Doheny I did a review on, it's got some finishing issues, but after I did some work to it, it's a beautiful instrument that plays great, sounds great. I'd have to build a new guitar for this to play great and sound great. It's absolute junk. Buyer beware. Do not get this. Please do yourself a favor, unless you want to make a video just talking about how terrible it is. That's about the only thing this is good for.